Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to Fern Valley Farms YouTube channel. On this channel, we are pure country. I just want to talk about something real quick here. I want to talk about Varroa mites. This is one thing that I've learned since I started doing this. Varroa mites is one of your biggest killers of your hive. It'll get in your hive. Those little things will get in there. They'll get on those bees, and it's a parasite. It'll get in there and cause disease, and eventually it'll kill them. So you want to treat for your mites. Varroa mites only came over here in the mid to late 80s, I want to say, is when they came. We never had them before. Years ago, you hear all these stories from all these older beekeepers. Let me grab my coffee here. You hear these stories from these older beekeepers about years and years ago, a guy that had the same hive for 15 years, 15, 20 years, whatever. The bees just every year just keep. Now it ain't like that. Ever since Varroa got over here, that's one of your biggest problems that we have. You got to treat your mites. I can't stress that enough. It's almost like 90 degrees and I'm drinking coffee, really, but I like it. So anyways, yeah, Varroa came over here on the Asian, I want to say the Asian honeybees, where Varroa came from. That's how they got here in the mid to late 80s, I want to say, I think it is. The only places in the world that don't have Varroa, Australia ain't got it. Australia and Hawaii, I believe. I know Australia. I'm almost positive Hawaii is the same too, don't have Varroa. So the biggest thing is you got to treat your hives. I treated these guys back in May. This is the end of June. I treated them back in May. I treated these hives here. I had a couple swarm on me. And then I treated these two splits here. Where are they at? You know, so I always say someday when I get to be famous, I'll have my own camera person. So I treated those two also. Lost my train of thought. So yeah, so I treated these bees beginning of May. Don't fool yourself and think that you don't have mites, because you do. These little things are like everywhere. If you look at there's one way you can check your mites. You can do a mite wash. You can buy these little containers. You fill them up with about 300 bees. There's a line on the inside of this container. If you go like to Man Lake, you'll see the container. There's a little line on the inside of that cup. You fill that up with live bees, and you do a mix of 50% like rubbing alcohol, 50% water. You pour it on your bees. You have to kill your bees to find out. You shake it all up. You look on the bottom, and you can see how many mites there are. If you have more than 2 mites or 3 mites, you have a problem. I forget what the percentage is offhand without looking at a cheat sheet. If you have at least 3 mites, you have a problem. And don't fool yourself and think you don't have them, because you do. I thought the same thing. When I first started, I'm like, I ain't got mites. I'm good. My bees are good. They're healthy. They're flying. Look at how good they look. Well, one of my hives died in December. And then a couple of the other hives died in... I want to say like February. One of them, and it was even 30 below zero, and one of them actually lived. But I know they didn't die from the cold because I wasn't sure. So what I did is I took the dead bees. I don't want to take a whole bunch of bees and kill them. I just don't want to do it. But I took a bunch of dead bees, and you could do this. If you have a hive die on you, you could take a handful of your dead bees, put them in that container, fill it up with the 50-50 wash. Shake them, and you'll see your mites. And I found all kind of mites on the dead bees. It didn't even dawn on me. I should have did that when the first one died. I should have did that. It dawned on me like 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up and I'm like, hell, I'm gonna wash my dead bees and see what happens. Sure enough, I washed them, and there they were. I came out here, got a whole handful. They hadn't, the snow hadn't got on them yet, and to hurt anything or froze them. So I took a whole handful of dead bees. I put them in the wash, and I washed them, and there were all those mites. I'm like, well, I think there's my problem, because they were fed. Those hives had so much honey in them, because in the fall you want to feed a 2 to 1. You want to simulate the honey. They'll store that away. That'll be their supplies for the winter. They didn't starve because there was plenty of honey frames in there. I had sugar cakes that I made that I put in there. I know Varroa is what got my hives. Because what happens is they'll get on the bee, and after a certain amount of time, it'll just kill the bee. Like your summer bees only live like 6-7 weeks, but your bees that are born in the fall, your September bees will live up to 6 months. So I know that's what got my hive. It has to be. What else could it have been? There was plenty of ventilation. They were wrapped. Plenty of food. I know it was the mites, because when I treated my hives, the first time I did this, I did it from the front, and I have screen bottom boards in all these hives. So the very first time I did it, and on the back of those screen bottom boards, there's a white board that slides out, and there's a piece of wood with 2 vent holes. half the stuff blew right out the back. It wasn't going up like I thought it was. So I'm sure I didn't get those hives good enough. I do it differently now. I come from the back, and since there's a screen bottom board, you can see at the bottom of the hive down here, from where I'm hitting these hives down here, you got all this space, so that fog is hitting the front of that and it's going up. And now when I fog them, I'll lift the lids and I'll kind of peek, make sure it's coming up through the top. And then I block off the entrance, the upper entrances I block off, and I'll even tape off the back so nothing can come out the back. I want to get as much of that in there as I can. So now when I'm doing it, that's how I do it, and I know that's all going through. Then you get all pissed off and they come out and they're flying all over the place. But treat your bees. That's just your biggest thing. You know, you get hive beetles. Fortunately, I don't have a problem with hive beetles. I haven't seen any. I seen one last year in one of the boxes. So hive beetles, I'm good. I didn't have any wax moths. I didn't have any of that. They were fed. They were insulated. I don't even think I even needed to insulate them because I built this. I built this wind block back here. The wind that's north, and I've got all these trees, and I'm up on a hill, and there's trees all around me. So the wind isn't that bad right here. It had to be mites. So I just can't stress it enough. Treat for your mites. So I did it in May early. I pulled those sliding boards out. You can count the mites, and I found probably 5 or 6 mites. Like on one of them, 3 on another one, 2 or 4, whatever on another one. I got it all written down. So I found mites. So now I did it again. I did it 2 weeks ago. It was my first. At the middle of June was my second time doing it for midsummer. I found. I must say that hive had a couple. My splits had like none. These hives here had maybe 1 or 2. They didn't have many. So I did it again. I'm going to treat. I'm going to count. I'm going to do a video on that. I'm going to pull the boards out and count them again, see what there is. I'm going to do it one more time. You want to do it. You want to do it 3 times in a row, 21 days. You want to hit the brood cycle. Because those mice will get inside your comb, or they'll get inside the brood, and they'll walk all over that larva that's developing into a bee. They've got videos on that. If you search that on YouTube, some of these labs have figured out they got a camera inside, or you can see the mite walking around. It's kind of gross looking, actually. And when the bee hatches, the mite's attached to it. Sometimes if you look close enough, you can see your bees walking in on your landing board. You'll see a mite on their back. I haven't seen that yet, which is good. I haven't looked close enough, I guess, but I think I would see it. So when you inspect for mites, they look like little teeny-weeny. They're probably about the size. If you took a pen and made a dot with a pen, like a medium tip pen, they're about that size. They're brown. And if you look at them like with a magnifying glass up close, they look like round little crabs is what they look like. And they attach themselves to the bees, and that's it. So you got to treat for them. I use the fogger, the oxalic acid with Everclear. The mixture is 100 milliliters of Everclear, 25 grams of oxalic acid. You heat your Everclear up. Don't get it too hot. Just get it warm. Put 25 grams, stir it up. Then I run it through a coffee filter into a jar, and I use a fogger, and I fog the hive with it. The oxalic acid is a 99.9% kill, which is great. You got to get rid of them. There's other treatments too. You could use the mite away strips, and there's all kinds of different things that work. Oxalic acid is the cheapest, and it works great. I just love it. I've actually got a new fogger. I'm going to do a video on that one soon, coming. So anyways, I just want to talk about Varroa. Biggest problem with our hives. So treat your bees, and then I'm going to do it again in September also. I'm going to do it in September. I'm going to hit them hard in September. There's going to be no honey boxes on these guys this year. I got a lot of honey last year. This year, with the weather being so bad, they just weren't growing as fast. And I want these colonies to build up big and strong. I want to go in the winter with at least single deeps, 2 deeps full of bees. That's my goal here. I'm not shooting for honey this year. It's just not going to happen. This is almost the end of June. In reality, it's almost like the end of May, just by the way the weather's been going. So we're behind. And I'm not going to put honey boxes on because I want them to work down below. I want to build these boxes up. That's a whole other subject. So when you treat with oxalic acid, here, that's not allowed. I think it's the FDA or whatever does it. You're not allowed to treat your supers with the oxalic acid. I'm in Illinois. I'm not sure if that's just Illinois. I have to relook that up. Some people say you can. Some people do it. Some don't. I don't see why it would hurt because oxalic acid is a natural. It's natural. It comes out of vegetable plants and flowers and other kinds of stuff. It's all natural, but you're not supposed to treat with oxalic with the supers on. So you could pull your supers, treat them, put them back on if you wanted to. But I don't got to worry about that this year. I'm not worried about honey. I want my bees going into winter big and strong, and I'm going to hit them hard in September. Depending on the weather, maybe even again in October. It ain't going to hurt them. I've heard stories of guys that have blasted their hives so heavy, trying to kill their bees, and they couldn't kill them. So I have a friend of mine. He blasted his bees so hard, he coated them. They had white coatings on them. I'm like, oh my God, his bees were just fine. So the oxalic acid, you can't hurt them. So the moral of my story is treat your bees. I know I've said this in a bunch of videos so far. I just wanted to kind of talk about that really quick. I learned my lesson the first year. I know that's what got them. So hopefully this year, or at this time next year when we're talking, in like March or April, I can say all my hives are alive. I want my goal is to get all these hives. I had a couple swarm on me. I should have more hives than I did, because my plan was to make some nukes next year, more honey. I'll hopefully have honey next year. I'm not sure about if they all survive. I'll have nukes. I'm going to try and start selling some nukes. So I got a lot of people that want honey, and I've already been telling people don't get your hopes up. So anyways, our story is about Varroa. I want my bees to go in the winter big and strong and healthy. So I'm going to treat again in September, and hopefully when I'm talking to you guys in March, I can say all my hives are big and strong and doing really good. So anyways, treat your bees. Take care of your bees. Take care of your bees. Have fun with your bees. Hopefully you like this video. If you do, consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that little button right there. Subscribe to the channel. Support it. I'd really appreciate it. If you do subscribe, there's a little bell next to that button. Hit that bell. You'll get notified every time one of these videos comes out. And thumbs up are always appreciated. The more thumbs up you get, the faster these videos pop up in searches. So have fun with your bees, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, thanks. Bye.